Hello. For this presentation, I'll be discussing the magic bullet theory. And that is also what I talked about in my paper as well. What is the magic bullet theory? The magic bullet theory is one of the first theories about the effects media have on its audience. The media magic gun fires the message directly into the audience head without their knowledge. The message causes the instant reaction from the audience mind without any hesitation, and that is what we call the magic bullet theory. It is also referred to as the hypodermic needle theory, where the media needle injects the message into the audience mind and it causes change in the audience behavior, how they think towards the message. Audience are passive and they can't resist the media message. It's called the hypodermic needle theory. Now, at the end where it says the audience are passive, the hypodermic needle theory and the magic bullet theory is really no different. Now, these theories are usually they were made off of the passive audience. The passive audience is usually a very easy, impressionable audience, ones who do not have a lot of sources for media, maybe only one source or something like that is what you would consider a passive audience. The media in the 1930s. There are only 3 forms of media. In my paper, I did say that it was only 2 forms, but while I was looking for a picture on Google, I typed in radio and TV to show the 2 forms of media at the time, I seen this cool picture with the newspaper. I forgot to even mention the newspaper, which is one of the first forms of media. So that's why I'm just going to correct myself. So it's TV, radio, and newspaper. The media started to rise in the 1930s during the Second War. The reason for that is because of the use of propaganda. Propaganda is false images are being propaganda are false images that are being put out and influencing people's minds. During the World War II, it was heavily used by the United States and Germany. The propaganda was very influential on their audience. So United States would put propaganda out to make, Germans look evil and things like that, and Germany would put propaganda out to make United States look evil, and Germany also no, I'm gonna keep that. I don't think that's the right reference. So, an alien invasion also sparked the rise of mass media, and it for researchers to let them know how powerful the mass media can be. Mass media have always been powerful, and those noticed, like I just mentioned, that it was very powerful during the World War II. People were listening to more radio broadcasts and believing in, propaganda and things like that way more. And people were very, very influenced by the mass media. So, in the 1930s, Orson Welles joined with Mercury Theater and created a fake news bulletin about an alien invasion in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. This was all for the intent to show how powerful the media can be. This was, if you want to say, it was an experiment. So the broadcast reached about 12 million people, but 1 million out of 12 million seriously believed the alien invasion. I mean, although it reached 12 million people, only 1 million believed it. 1 million people is a lot of people to believe an alien invasion. That is a lot of people. And they minds were seriously influenced by this one radio broadcast. Frantic phone calls were being made to local police stations, firefighters at hospital. They shot the public with the most ridiculous magic bullet. People who probably never believed in aliens before, they sure enough started believing it now after that broadcast. But the magic bullet theory is really not a good way of thinking anymore. It is so outdated and old and based off of just outdated and old things. And the magic bullet theory was not properly researched. It didn't require any proper research. The media changed significantly since the theory came out in the 1930s. I mean, nowadays we have plenty of forms of media. We aren't limited to three. And honestly, if you were wealthy enough, you were limited to two sources of mass media, and that would be radio and the newspaper. At the time, wealthy folks were the ones who had television. So television wasn't really, normal, or it wasn't a thing that everybody had at the time. The theory suggests that we are all the same and we all respond to media messages the same, which is not true at all because we are all different people. Many researchers realize the limitations of this idea. Proper research has since proved the theory to be wrong and replaced it with others, such as the agenda setting theory. We do not all take media messages the same because we can take messages and decide how we want to take them. We are not easily impressionable these days because we have things where we can fact check, and like I said previously, we have many different forms of media where we can fact check and look and see things to, see if it's correct or if it's wrong. But after all of these alien broadcasts and things like that, nowadays people are not so impressionable. And nowadays there are a lot of people who are passive audiences because they are limited to internet and things like that. But it's still not hard for if they're limited to not having internet in their home, but they can still go and be able to access the internet at a library or somewhere local and free. So honestly, in my opinion, there are many passive audiences unless they're from unless they're older folks that don't want to progress and learn the new technology around them. Then they are the passive audience. The rise of the media. The magic bullet theory is what jump-started communication research of the mass media, and it is why it's still discussed to this day, although it is proved to be invalid. Yes, although that is proved to be invalid. People have more control than ever over the way media messages influence them. That is basically what I was explaining. How we can take a message and decide how we want to take it. We can hear something and decide if we want to believe it or not because we're not impressionable like how people were in the 1930s. The magic bullet theory created light on the rise of mass media and made those want to know more about the effects of it. Now, I said it creates light on the rise of mass media because in the early days in the 1930s, people were kind of scared of new technology. Having a TV in your home was very foreign. It wasn't really normal. It's like if they were to see our little cell phones in our hand right now that we have, like these iPhones, they would be scared. And that's why I just mentioned that people who are passive audiences these days are the people from the 1930s or the earlier times who are still alive now and do not want to learn how to use technology. And it's not that they can't; it's because they're scared. It's foreign to them. It's not normal like how it is with us. Their study proved that people can choose. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading ahead on my note card. Oh, and I clicked off of mine. One of the first to disagree with the magic bullet theory was Paul Lazarsfeld and Hedda Herzog. They conducted the People's Choice in 1940 that analyzed the effect of the mass propaganda on people's voting decisions. Their study proved that people could choose which media to accept from the media as well, determine the degree to which those messages would affect them. People are not just helpless victims of the media or the magic bullet. Their study proved that the people can choose what messages they receive and how they want to receive them. They develop a two-step flow model communication stages. The message are first received and interpreted by opinion leaders before the public. Without technology, there are still more mass media outlets more mass media outlets for the people in the U.S. to access information and not be a victim of the magic bullet. So, with my last sentence being said, there are many forms of mass media outlets. There are many forms of how to fact check. We do not have to be so easily impressionable as those were in the 1930s, which we aren't, because we can second guess everything. And when we read something these days, people don't just believe it right away. They might want to, if they read something on Twitter, they might want to go Google it and read further on it on different outlets. So, my name is Quinnies Walker, and that is it on the magic bullet theory.